Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Ratedmapodcast. I am Tavarus.
I'm Dabrian.
And this is Blake. Happy New Year! Happy New Year. Y'all don't sound happy. Oh, this is the season finale, FYI. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel on iTunes and the Rated MA Podcast Instagram. Last time when we started the beginning of the season, I was dating. Dabrian was celibate, and Blake was coming out of a dry spell. Mm-hmm. So for the end, I just wanted to check in and see what's new with you guys. Has anything changed?
My spell is no longer dry.
No?
It's not.
Oh. Are you dating or?
No, not dating. Just, having fun. Pretty much. And I'm going to have fun all 2019, so.
That's what you're playing?
Watch the fuck out.
You're not trying to date no more?
Well, I'm going to have fun until it leads to dating.
I like
or
that.
more.
Okay. I like that.
And I'm going to have fun until it's not fun anymore.
Okay. That's
that.
fair. What about you, Dabrian?
Still celibate, trying to give it up at this point.
It's hard to give up good pussy.
I've been on Jacked and I've been talking to people. I've been on Tinder. I've been talking to folks. So I'm just talking and I'm seeing what happens. I really want to, make sure that I meet somebody that I have some sort of connection with. So I think that's why I'm not having sex, is because the niggas I meet on Jacked are the niggas that I meet on Jacked. And
But you've been coming across some nice guys lately, right? Or not?
I have. Well, prior to this conversation and prior to me coming over here,
You had a roster.
I had a roster. Then I ran some names.
Hello, by the legendary Tavarus.
I ran some names past my good friend Tavarus, and so one of those names was dropped from my list. So now I'm currently talking to two different guys just to try to figure out what what I want, and dating the old-fashioned way. So that's where I'm at with it.
Oh, that's cute.
What about you, Tavarus? What's your news? What's your tease?
Well, I'm not really. I'm not.
You were dating.
I was dating. I'm no longer dating.
What happened to that situation?
Yeah.
It just fizzled out. I don't really have.
It just fizzled out. Or you went through his phone.
Next
Don't
season.
cut your eyes at me.
No, that fizzled out. So now I'm very open to dating. There is somebody that I like, but they didn't even text me on Christmas, and I feel some kind of way about it.
Oh.
So
Did you text them?
yeah,
I got text the day after, so.
That's okay. I got stood up on Christmas.
the whole
Eve,
house
so-
there. Oh, okay, so we all in the same
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. How have you guys enjoyed this season?
I've really enjoyed the season. Mm-hmm. I've listened to a few of our episodes the last couple of days, and I just realized how funny we are, and the chemistry that we have is just you can't replace it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna miss recording. I've already missed it. So I'm gonna miss us three.
Well, yeah, I see you all in the streets, though.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys learned anything new this season? Either about each other or about stuff that we didn't talk about?
Have I learned anything new this season?
I think there was so many lessons, it's hard to pinpoint one. I'll definitely say, like, last season, the highlight of last season was having that conversation with Shar. I'll say a highlight of this season was having the conversation with, oh my God, I forget his name.
Javante. Matt.
Yeah, with Matt, Mr. Brinkley.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that was great.
And then, or Dr. Brinkley rather now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That was eye-opening, learning about me and myself, and
Oh yeah, you were actually vulnerable this season.
Yeah.
She was giving up a lot. You were actually very funny this season.
Well,
you always funny,
right?
But
Hello.
You took it to another level. And Dabrian was more talkative this year, because last year the people were saying they couldn't hear Dabrian, they wanted more of the romantic guy. So she giving y'all savage this year.
Hey, come on, all 2019, all 2019.
He's sitting on face and getting up.
I did meet some people who listen to the show faithfully. I met them at a party, and a couple, and I felt like because I'm a podcaster, I can give advice on relationships,
right?
Or at least I like to think so.
Hello.
And so they were in a weird place, and I just told them that they should stay together, and if I was them, I would stay together. And
they listened and they were asking you about.
They weren't asking me anything about relationship advice.
Oh, okay.
they were telling me that they used to date and they were just really good friends now.
Oh, okay.
And so I was telling them my advice and what I felt like it was worth working on.
Oh, that's cool.
But they're big fans of the show, so shout out to them too.
Yeah, so make sure even in the interim, you guys are still emailing questions and leaving comments and catching up on old episodes and seasons. But anyway, so today we have one of my good friends, Nico. This is my only white friend.
Ooh,
and
hey,
Why you even started off like that?
because he's honest.
Why were you counting?
he's
him
my only
for
white
counting
friend,
white
and
friends?
he always accuses me of hiding him out and not introducing him to nobody.
Truth.
But if you know me, you know I don't make friends.
Can I
I
just say
know.
that? He does not mix friends. One.
He said it. He
Yeah,
said it.
I
I
can
feel like I
tell
met
you
all
from
his other
experience.
But you already knew everybody in passing. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to be like, oh, come. I don't know, bitch. I ain't got time.
He
to
doesn't do
explain
that. He
myself.
don't introduce.
He's
folks.
very clear on that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he is my friend, and I wanted to have him on because, for one, he dates black men, and I want to know what it's like coming from the other side. And also, he's older, and I want to know what it's like to age in this community.
You're not aging?
Well, Nico is of a certain age.
Nico said,
Nico is late 40s, y'all.
Ooh.
So he'll be able to give us a lot of insight. And he's also
man of a certain age.
man of a certain age, and he's also a licensed therapist as well. So he has a lot of insight. But as you know, with all of our guests, we like to play Dig in My Sack. So we have some questions here for you, and we want you to pull them, read them, and answer them, please.
When is the last time you had a one-night stand?
That would be just after my birthday in October. And it was actually a friend of a friend who was in from out of town.
Oh, okay. Next question.
What do you define as a one night stand?
Well, probably someone like, so a one-night stand, to be frank, it could always be someone that you meet up off an app and just have a little, get down with. This more was someone that I felt like I had met, and we actually talked and got to know one another, and there was chemistry, but it was very clear understanding that, like, he's going back. And
Would you do it again?
Yeah.
And so then if you do it
it's not a
again,
one-night stand.
is it still a one night stand?
It is. Well, the thing is, I consider it because
Right.
it could happen again, but it's not a guarantee, is it?
Right, it's not.
But is it a one-night stand if you don't talk to them no more after? That's what I feel like.
No, everybody has different definitions,
exactly.
which is
Okay.
yeah.
That's my own thing.
Okay.
Oh, you motherfucker. How many men would you say you have been with in all of your years?
Oh my God, that is.
There were options, right?
I do. Oh, yes. A is less than 50. B is more than 100. C is more than 500.
This is a very unfair
So
question.
my answer would have to go it's between A and, no, it would be just under B. I haven't been with more than 100.
Oh, really?
You should ask Tavarus
Not
that
more
same
than-
question.
Not more than 100.
In the biblical sense, like all the way penetration, or you count everything?
Not the big.
Oh, if we're just talking, I'd be even less if it was like the biblical sense. But
Oh,
if you're
even
just
less?
if you're talking about like any kind of sexual
Yeah.
thing,
Jacking off, sucking, fucking. all of
okay,
it.
that could go a distance. B,
Oh, B? Okay. That's cute.
I would say B.
Next question.
When does the bowl get moved around?
I told you should ask that question to Tavarus.
I'm not answering.
You just said sixes.
Oh,
Before the mic got hot, you was talking six.
on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your freak number?
Ooh.
Well, I always get a comment like my presentation is different than what we do closed door.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So,
Same here.
well.
Your presentation is very much what you get.
I'm gonna say 8 or 9.
8 or 9? Okay.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 20,
1 to 10, it said.
or a scale of 1 to 8 to 9.
What's your free number?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mine is probably a lot lower. Depends on what I call a freak. A freak is
Whatever
for
you-
me. A freak is somebody who's gonna do most things.
Right. That's
You
what I
ain't
was
gonna do
thinking
most
too.
No, if it's a sliding
1 to
scale,
10.
I'm gonna do very few things, but I'm gonna do them all well.
Girl, what's the number?
Like 3.
Really?
I don't know about that.
Well, the thing is, but you want to know what? I'll be honest with you. If you've tried something, doesn't mean it always works,
Right,
and it
yeah.
didn't always go according to plan. So my thing is, at least I'll usually try something
Yeah.
once.
I'm not gonna get into
twice.
shitting, pissing,
I
or
was
fisting.
just going to say
No
now
scat,
when
no
I
blood.
think freak,
Yeah.
when I think freak, just in my experience and just living out here, especially that I feel like pissing and shitting is like 10.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that. So I can't be.
So you want
Yes.
3 out of 10?
No, because I feel like shitting is the 10, pissing is the 9. Oh, I did do the piss thing.
Right.
You did do the piss thing.
I might be a 9.
No scat, no blood.
No scat.
No scat, no
What
blood.
about you, Daybrin?
I think I'm a 6.5. I'm almost a 7.
That's fair.
Oh, I could see that actually.
Yeah.
I'd rather give you like 7.5, 8.
I would probably say 7. I would leave.
I'm gonna go
more
with 7 too.
I would say 7. I would say 7. I
What
would
you think,
never.
Tavarus?
6.57.
Bitch, you are a motherfucking lie.
I'm not.
You're like a 9.5.
I'm not into a lot of stuff.
You
Bitch,
have
you
done
give
fisting.
hey, you got fisting.
No, all y'all done fisting and pissing.
I have not. I have never
fisted
done
a boy.
fisting. I have never.
Bitch,
fisted
I ain't been
anybody.
fisted. I fisted somebody.
I have never
Exactly.
fisted anybody.
It wasn't
I've
a
never
full
been
fist.
fisted.
That ain't nothing.
That's up there though.
Girl,
That's
I
not
said,
regular
my number-
shit.
So you got a 9. Oh, so it's 9.5.
I'm gonna say 7.
Oh, then we both for 7.
7.5. No, we are not on the same level.
You said 7.5.
No, you're at 7.5.
Next question.
Oh, this is an odd one. I honestly don't think I can answer this. With all the guys you have dated, which race had the worst credit? That never, ever, credit has never become a subject.
Oh, wait. Oh, you meant like credit. Like
credit.
Like practice school.
No, I mean, yeah, I don't. Honest to God, that would never come into play.
No.
And no, like if I've been in relationships or been with people, usually I generally will tend to be, okay, whatever my income level is compared to theirs, let's look at if we're living together or what we're sharing in terms of bills, and we do it proportion wise. I think that that's.
Oh.
I think that that's a.
Hey, now that's what I'm talking about.
I think that
That's what we
if
discussed.
you
No.
Well, no.
because otherwise I think that I've been in the position where I've been with people that have taken care of me, and that dynamic worked for a period of time, but there's the cons to it. Right now I'm in the space where I tend to think that most people come at me thinking that there's going to be a certain monetary presentation with it.
Okay, so hold on.
Why do you think that? And then I do also have another question, a follow-up question to your
Yeah.
question. What's your sexual position? Because that plays...
Full verse.
Oh, okay.
Full verse.
Never mind. So then I can see why you would...
Well, we did an episode on finances, and Blake believes that he's the
Bottoms.
lady, period.
Yeah,
So
the bottom
even if
does
they
not
make
pay
less
none of
than
the
him,
bills.
they need to be covering most of the bills.
No.
all of them.
But how would you describe your relationship status now?
I am single. Dating. I didn't do that much dating in 2018 because I did a lot of studying for my license, and I tried to use 2018 as being my professional year, where I give the opportunity to focus on personal and professional growth, which I've been very pleased with. So I feel like working on me allows me to be more of what I would want to present to someone else, and I think that it would be more attractive to someone else also. Growth.
That's very grown. Now, I know you came up in a different era, so back then you probably couldn't even imagine that gay marriage would be legal, right?
No.
So what age did you come out, and did you ever think that you would be single at this age?
That's a great question. I came out at around 16 and a half.
Jesus.
I was raised on a dairy farm in Indiana, youngest of 7, alcoholic, abusive father. So about 12, I started running away, and then I was living with a girlfriend of mine's family, and by the 4th or 5th time, my mom came to get me, and Mrs. Peterson, that was her name, Miss P. She's like, he's going to school, he's doing just fine, he's got his little part-time job. You know what? We need to think this situation out because he's gonna keep running and he's gonna keep coming here.
So you was at the girlfriend house?
I was at my best friend's, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And started living with them, and then had the conversation with my parents and emancipated when I was 16.
So what was their reaction back then? They didn't care really?
Well, my mom was supportive. My dad really didn't put it all, like it was just something that was a non-starter.
Okay.
and how's your relationship with them now?
My parents are passed.
Okay.
My mother was supportive. My father said some very, very harsh and cruel, I would say, absolutely terrible things. I didn't talk to him there was a 10-year period.
Dang.
Did you guys have an opportunity to heal afterwards, or?
I thought we did until he passed and they read his will.
Oh no.
I'm guessing you left out.
Oh.
He left me $1 for reasons known between us. In those exact words, in the state of Indiana, if you leave $1, we cannot fight
You can't
the will.
contest it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it would have been
Lord.
contestable.
correct.
Oh, wow.
I'm his only child.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the youngest of
Dang.
7, but my mother was married previously.
So how many long-term relationships would you say you've been in?
I can count them. So Anthony was first, Harold, Tennyson, Costa.
That's a beautiful name, Tennessee.
All of them names is cute.
Anthony is cool.
Costa.
Dabrian's pretty too.
Marshall.
Get in line.
Andre.
Damn.
So that's 6.
Longest was 6 years. Most I've averaged 3 to 3.5 is usually the length, and I get weird at the 3.5.
Why is that?
3.5. I don't know. I don't think that I necessarily present it. I hope I probably internalize it, and I've thought about if that internalizing manifests.
Right.
But somewhere in that 3 and 3.5, I don't know what it is.
Mine is
Like you
3.5
start
months.
feling suffocated?
Yeah.
3.5 months.
It's at 3.5 months. And somehow all of my relationships tend to fall off after that 3.5 month
Really?
mark.
Well, I think that's standard because before my last boyfriend, that was about right for me too.
Yeah.
3-4 months.
That is not. That's not.
Bitch, it's not what?
That's kind of just for me. That's always been like even in still the dating stages. Like I'm like no.
What?
I don't know. That seems so short to me.
It's very
Yeah.
short. I mean, I don't think nobody go into it with that kind of plan, but
Yeah.
Even when I date people at least 6-7 months at the least.
Oh, it don't take you that long to know you need to be with me.
And how do you guys like?
just kidding.
If you were talking about relationships, what would you kind of like as the progress goes? Do they have phases? Do you think that relationships have phases
should,
as they
but
go
they don't.
along?
No,
I don't
not
think
for
they
me.
do.
No.
Oh.
I think I don't like all of the different terminology. We're dating, we're
Labels,
talking,
the
we're
labels.
seeing each other.
Yeah.
No, if we're fucking, we go together.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
it's very few
And
people.
especially not in this. It's
No,
this
I'm the
day
only
and
person
age.
who subscribes to that belief.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that.
Which is totally fine.
Which is why I think that most of my relationships are short lived.
'Cause they crash and
Because at a certain particular
when
point,
y'all really start getting to know each other.
I realized that he and I are not on the same page. That I've been in a committed relationship with him, and he has not been in a committed relationship with me.
This girl been lying all show. I'm on this last episode.
And do you want to know what's interesting? The last part of the question you asked, which was dating at my age now.
Yeah.
Now, did I think that I would be dating right now? Absolutely, I did not. I've always been. I'm a very much a relationship type of person. I think that I invest in it, and I kind of go by a motto. You know what? Even if something didn't work out, I really hope that we both had really great times that we can hold on to, and believe that we both learned and grew in that.
Right.
Maybe it meant growing apart and becoming different people and no longer being compatible, but I would still hope that the positives would outweigh the negatives.
I will say, okay, so I just had a revelation with my ex-boyfriend who was a staple in my life for a very, very long time. And he's now, well, he got married, then he got divorced, he started seeing a therapist, and his therapist told him that he needed to discontinue our relationship.
Based on what?
Oh,
Exactly. So, based on, he said that his therapist said people in intimate relationships do not have secret friendships. And our friendship was a secret from his husband. And when we broke up 10 years ago, like 9 or 10 years ago, when we broke up, he wanted to remain friends. And I said, I do not remain friends with exes.
I know
like
a lot
that's,
of people
like
like that.
that's over, that's done. So we came to a compromise, and I said the only reason and the only way that I feel like I can be your friend is if you keep that aspect of your life separate from our relationship, because emotionally that's baggage that I cannot carry, and I think you need to share that with other friends. And I can't be that friend to you. So that was our conversation and our agreement 9-10 years ago. Fast forward probably 3 months after he and I broke up, he started dating this new guy. They eventually get married maybe 2-3 years later. They were in this whole monogamous, committed relationship, marriage. It falls apart, and the ex-husband is citing that part of the reason that it fell apart was because there was this Blake that he had never met.
But how did he even know who Blake was? He was checking that.
I'm
bank
going to keep
statement
my
and said, "Where's
professional.
this
I'm going to keep my
from?"
professional hat off on that one.
Well, no, I want you to share, because what do you think? This is just new. Like, this just happened. Like, and this man is like the love of my life.
I get
And
it.
this
but
happened maybe like 2 weeks ago.
I don't know him, so I would speak on the generalizations that you just shared. So, it sounds to me like he has other issues going on with he sounds very compartmentalized, and that works for him. And when those compartments or those walls start and the blending, he's having a hard time kind of maneuvering or navigating through that. So for the therapist, I'm not sure if that was the way it was said. Maybe that was the way it was presented to you. But in many instances, you have to think about working on yourself is similar to like when you have an addiction and you have to change certain things to maintain your sobriety. So if you're trying to do the work on yourself, if you will, sometimes you just have to clear the playing field, don't you? Because if you surrounded yourself, and that's how you identify is through the people that surround you, it's easy to not have to look at yourself. It's easy to not reflect. It's easy to not be introspective. So I would think that maybe that was the discussion, but you have to realize some people have selective listening. And the way that it's presented can be completely different. Like right now, we could all hear, someone could walk in and say a phrase to us and ask us 5 minutes later what they said, and we could all four say different things. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would walk away from that. I would say probably try not to take it personally. I know that's hard.
But are you mad about it?
I'm not actually. I was very acquiescent when he presented it to me because it was something that I had presented to him previously, and I've said it publicly before that part of the reason that I feel like maybe I can't grow in a relationship because there's still a piece of me that is attached to him.
And you always compare your new boo.
My new boo, like he has set a bar for every relationship that I'm ever going to be in, and I don't know if anybody could ever meet that.
And the guy was still sending Blake money, so it's
he's been there for me. But I knew in that moment that I kind of sort of needed to be there for him. And if this is something that he needed to explore and test and try, I needed to be able to give him that.
So it's funny. My last ex, literally the night that we knew it was just going to be like he was going to move out, right?
With a tissue.
Literally what you said. Hugged him and was like, you know what? I want you to go out and just be the best you can be, because right now that's what you are telling me that you need to be able to go out and do. Please go do it, and I want to wish you the best.
But hold on, going back to what you said earlier, what normally happens at the 3.5 year mark? Do y'all just start nitpicking, or?
Well, yeah, I wonder if, it's been different things. It's been, sometimes it's nitpicking. There have been times that I have cheated. It has been that they have cheated. I've had a relationship where it was discussions about having an open relationship, partially, and how that would look, a partially open relationship. There's nuances with each person that came differently.
Right. Is it safe to say that maybe for you the relationship just gets stale at 3.5, and then you start looking to do something different? Like you have a recipe in place to take you to year 3.5, and then after year 3.5, it's just like,
what are we doing?
We're scrambling.
What's next?
I wouldn't say that.
Let's try this. Let's try that. And then
each time when I think that I'm one of these ones, and this is where I think it is. I think somewhere in the 2 to 3 mark, I start to realize that I want to invest. Like, okay, 2 of the last relationships that I had, very much the conversation was about eventually having kids. In the second to the last one, the breakdown came with, are we going to foster and adopt? Are we going to adopt a surrogacy? Like, how was it going to look? And it became very clear that he's a fourth. So his name is full on. I don't want to say his name. He's a fourth. And then suddenly it was, I want to have my child.
Right.
And then it was, I wouldn't be listed as a parent. And there was a lot of different discussions that were happening, and it became like, glorified babysitter that you fuck. Like, I'm not getting all
we
this.
can do one way
it really broke down to being those, it grew and grew and grew and festered to becoming these very harsh things being said, and both of us, I feel, acting outside of ourselves, like what was not common before. And so I wouldn't say that just because of hitting that time frame, each one had a different thing in that part of my life, if that makes sense.
You just hit a wall.
So of the 6 relationships,
that's happened a couple times.
Of the ones that you've had, how many have been open?
One that I'll say this, one that we both agreed on.
Okay. Right.
Hello.
I wish. I don't, not to cut you off.
No, not at all.
I don't want to say I wish that I could be a part of something like that when it comes to open relationships. I wish that I was strong enough to have that as an option in relationships.
Most people aren't.
Because I don't play, and I'm not sharing. And I find it hard to understand relationships that work that way. And I know relationships that are open that work well. I can't do it.
So as an older person, when you were younger, were you more naive and optimistic about the relationship working? And now that you're older, you think we're eventually going to have an open situation?
No, I won't say that. So there's actually 3 things that hit that. Number one, I would say in the part of the question is when I was younger, I felt like I kept, in my 20s, I would say, I had this feeling of I know what I want, and there was this, they want this, and if they don't have it, then no. Okay?
In your 20s.
I got into my 30s and early 40s, and it became I know what I don't want.
Right.
And that's where I work from. I know I don't want a liar. I don't want a cheater. I don't want a cigarette smoker. Okay? Like those, I would have to say, are the 3 things. Now, what everything else can be in a completely different package every time. Tall, short, thicker, thin.
Right.
My propensity is dark hair, dark eyes. The shade can be anything over the rainbow. Okay? But I know I don't want those 3 things.
Right. That's fair. I'm going to use that.
Do you feel like that's lowering your standards?
You want to know what? Am I going to be with? Oh, sorry. Am I going to be with that person forever? But am I going to close the door on them? So I'm going to say no. I'm not lowering my standards. What I am doing is saying
narrowing it down.
I don't see why that I can't give someone an opportunity. Who knows when you're standing in the store and someone comes in and they are filthy, that means that that's what they're like every day. Or if it is, what their occupation could be. I'm not going to abide by that kind of thinking. I think that your diamond could be in the rough.
What was something in your 20s that you wanted that was on your do's list that is now no longer on your do's list because now you have a list of don'ts?
Oh, that's a hard one. Because I still have my list of do's that...
Or maybe it was more like surfacey when you were younger. Like he got to look, he got to be 6 feet.
He got to be this.
Yes,
He got to be that.
That would definitely be it. Was what I imagined always is, and that would probably go back to my first relationship. I always kind of in my 20s wanted everything to be like the first relationship that was ended very, very badly. But things that I still always am going to want is going to be number 1 by far is sense of humor. If you cannot laugh with someone, it's going to be doomed. You have to be able to laugh during the good times, but more especially during the bad times. I need empathy. I need someone to be compassionate, not just for us, but to themselves and to other people. Yeah.
That's a good one. And what's the third one?
Too.
Yeah.
What was the third trait?
I think third is that not stagnant, like someone who's stuck, and a lot of people are stuck and they don't realize it. And I don't want to say that it makes them bad, but when you see someone and like from the outside, you see someone's, and this could be a coworker, this could be a family member. When you see the potential and they're unable to see it in themselves, I think part of being human, being part of society, is to encourage and to do something to help them to be able to grow and be themselves. I aspire to give everyone a smile and a kind word. You never know what that will do for one single person that you interact with. So,
do you give any type of credence as to why they are stagnant at that particular point in life? Maybe once upon a time they weren't stagnant, and then maybe they encountered something or hit a roadblock.
Yes,
and then it's just like they shut down. Yeah.
Okay. That is normally what it is. There's been something that's been a setback, and it stagnates them.
Is there anything from your first relationship, like a standard or just what they kind of set a pace for that you still look for in men to this day from your first relationship?
Ooh. While you're thinking, I have a question. Was your first relationship with an African American?
Yes.
Okay.
And much older.
Oh, much older. Oh, you were like 20 what?
I was, when I first met him, I was 9 and he was 20.
Stop the track.
Come on, 9.
Let me stay fast.
So, my sister had,
Well, you don't have to.
My sister had her first one and only black boyfriend who lived in Chicago, an hour away. She used to drag my ass on the train and leave me at his family's house while she would go and kind of have a boyfriend in Chicago. I became very close with his family, and it was an older cousin that started taking me to go to see the Cubs and started to go to the Bears games and did all these kind of guy things, if you will. when I emancipated and was 16 and actually moved to Chicago, reconnected with the family. He was older, in school. We started hanging out, and
so he was how much older? So
I was
30.
16 and he was almost 30.
Okay.
He was 30.
So he was 23 and you were 9?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, hold on. So we'll come back to something around that, but
And what was your question?
Well, I'll just paint you a picture. I think my first boyfriend kind of set the pace for me in a certain type.
Because of his chivalry?
And yeah.
Ooh,
but he
yes.
also, come on, listener.
Lamar.
Yeah, but he also, he was masculine, but he was very much into nerdy things that I was into and stuff like that. So now I look for that in almost every guy that I talk to. And when they lack those qualities, it's a turnoff for me that I can't get out of. It's just something that my mind is it's a prerequisite almost when you meet me.
So is it more the masculine thing?
I would say, you want to know what? In the beginning of the relationship, for the first 2.5 years with him, he was very nurturing. I was 16. He was very supportive of my sexuality. But the weird part, behind closed, you have to remember back then, this was the early to mid 80s in Chicago. I'm white. He's black.
And it was rough.
And it was a very different kind of scenario. So,
rough.
And then when I decided to go to hair school in Chicago, and
so you was with all the Banjies. You was with the
and he was not that. He ended up going into school for journalism and marketing, were his major and minor, all that.
So yeah. So for now, I'm starting to hear more and more stories about sexless relationships, which sounds insane to me. Like people who've been together for sexless.
Oh,
I know
not gonna happen.
That's two tops.
Well,
Or two bottoms.
I don't know.
Or two bottoms.
What do you
We don't be
say?
getting together
What do you say to couples?
No. And neither one of those is going to be sexless. They're going to figure something
Yeah.
out. They still have dicks and mouths.
They have sex with other people.
No, what do you say to
Or an
couples
open
who stop
relationship.
having sex, and can they get that back on track?
Well, it's you want to know what? Again, going back to as being my age, it's like I'm still very active, and my doctor laughs at me every time when I go in for my annual physical, and it's like, your testosterone. I'm like, thank you, and that is from being active. I personally believe that.
So you don't know any couples that are not having sex?
So I do know, but
And what
Gay
they
couples or
reason?
straight
can I tell you what it
Gay.
is? Oh,
okay.
yeah. So I think it's more so the long committed couples. They start developing different things. Their occupations, their home,
Right.
pets.
Priority shift.
It's exactly, and it may happen,
sex.
but it may happen less regularly. I don't think it's entirely sexless. It may be like on Christmas in your
You
birthday.
gotta schedule it.
Yeah. It's not spontaneous.
Yeah.
It's not that passion. I don't think.
So if it's a situation like that, you think they definitely having sex with other people, or they just content?
I would
with
not ever say a definitive, and I think that's based on the parameters of their relationship.
So y'all don't know any couples that's not having sex?
I feel like couples who are not having sex, like let's say if they've been together
Yes, I
30,
do
40
actually.
years.
We don't know.
I'm saying if you've been together 30, 40 years, I'm using the extreme. You've been together 30, 40 years, you get into the rut of living life. Sex is no longer that
yeah, but that's
priority.
understandable at 30, 40 years. But 4 years,
No, so
what's
then-
the problem?
Oh, I don't know.
Now then
And
we're
what's their
at the
age?
4.
Yeah.
And what's their age?
I mean,
what do you
Yeah.
like? Who's the
like
group?
if y'all
Who's the
76
demographic?
and y'all been together for 4 years.
I know a couple right now.
No,
I know a couple
no.
right now, and I actually been low key playing their relationship therapist, but they're straight. It's a straight couple.
Okay.
And the girl is one of my best friends. And last night, in the middle of the night, it was 2, 3 in the morning. She texts me, and every now and then she'll call me or she'll come over to my house. And her boyfriend are not having sex, and they've been living together 2 years. And she's a really pretty girl. And so I told her, I said, I'm sorry, because they're in their 20s. I'm like, you're in your 20s and you're not having sex. There is a problem there.
Yes.
Y'all need to go see somebody.
There's
And they
multiple
refuse
things.
to.
She could be. So we have to look at it in my profession before someone I work.
Yeah.
And so for psychiatric types of things, we also in the hospital, they have to be what's called medically cleared to make sure there's not a medical reason that they're having these symptoms. So for example, if a 20-year-old, they be naturally healthy, right? You never know if there's something going on that could be affecting their libido. They could be on a medication that could be affecting their libido.
Right.
Psychiatric medication, there's a lot of different things that could be affecting it.
Yeah.
So or stress. Who knows? Did they just, are there unemployment issues? Are there financial
But
issues?
there's definitely something going on.
Yeah, there's something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not, I would not consider that the norm.
Yeah, and that's what I try to tell her, and she's just like, well,
And
they don't want to go see any counselors or anything like that.
No, they don't want
He,
to.
he doesn't want to.
Exactly,
He's
because
over
he'll
it.
feel
So
emasculated.
he's probably cheating.
Well, because
Or
the truth gonna come out.
and he can
Yeah.
feel
And she
emasculated.
gonna get
There's
smart too.
a lot of different things there.
Yeah.
Now, I think most of my friends are good catchers and decent people. But what do you think it is about love that is escaping all of us that we just can't get it together? Because everybody say they want something, but nobody's finding it.
We'll go back and do another question.
I think people are
it's
not
the
being
apps.
honest.
I think it is
that's
the
another
ready
one.
accessibility. So you asked me about my last few relationships. It's interesting because in each of the breakups there was another step in technology. Okay, when I had my relationship in the early 2000s, it was like BGC.
Hey,
And Craigslist,
BGC.
right?
Chat
That
back
boom.
then.
Then next thing you know, after the breakup with the other relationship, it was like Adam for Adam was the rage.
I think Adam for Adam was before BGC though.
It was around the same time.
Yeah.
After
For me,
that,
Maybe when it came into play in their relationship.
I'm going to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
when I
okay,
came across these things, I was ignorant to any of these things until, okay? And then the last would be like a grinder jacked kind of thing. And that's probably the most recent.
Yeah.
So I think that in terms of love and relationships and things like this, I think the apps make it where there's constant ready accessibility and there's always could be something better. And I think we are now being indoctrinated with we want the next something.
The next
and I mean
best thing.
everything. And so therefore, if that's how it is materialistically, don't we think that that's what we want with the next
Yep.
person? You wear the one wrong outfit to something and someone's like, oh my God, I don't like this style. Someone else's, So if I had to really say it, I would say that.
What's been your biggest lesson on love so far compared to your 20s to now?
Go with my gut. They will show you who they are. Do not doubt them. Do not question it.
Believe them. The
And then
first
just nip it in the
time.
bud right away, so you don't waste time with dating.
I'm very direct, and sometimes most of the time, that throws people off. Okay.
Because I know when you date, you pretty go with the flow. Like you don't press people about a whole lot of stuff. So
Me too. I don't press people about it. Oh no, but I don't press you about it. If we fuck, we go together.
So you just tell them and they just do it.
I don't tell them like
yeah.
this is an understanding
I
in my
really-
head.
Just from my knowledge of knowing you. Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
We fuck, we go together.
Now, to know Nico is to know that he's Mr. Affirmative Action. Like he's all about gay rights, black rights, everybody's rights. So I know you. Since I've known you, you've only dated black men.
No.
Since I've known you, that's all I know you to date. You've been on a date. You like to fuck niggas. So how old were you when you first messed with an African American guy? Was it 16?
16.
Okay, so after you did that, was it like, damn, I ain't never had nothing else like this, or?
No.
Hopefully that was your first.
My first was actually, he was Moroccan, and it was when I was in Paris. I was 16.
You went to Paris at 16?
I backpacked around the world when I was 16 to 17.
Oh, you real cultured. You sure you didn't want to choose another number on that? So what is it like dealing with black men? Like, what do you think is the biggest difference between black gays and white gays?
That's a hard question. I would say that white gays dependent on where you're at. So I call WeHo Nazis, because if you don't belong to the right gym and you don't have the right credit score and you don't drive the right car. If you were to go to Silver Lake, if you're not furry enough or you're not bearish enough or you're not daddy enough. So I think that I can't aspire to the black and the white. I'm going to go with the cliques. So
Yes.
you got the multi-white cliques, black cliques. You have the I will only go with DLs. I will only go with mask. I will only go with passing. I don't think that a lot of folks can understand that you can have
Light skin, dark skin.
or gender non-conforming and they're a top. Like
Right.
it must be if they're gender non-conforming, they must. Like those stereotypes, I do not aspire to those. But if you're asking me generally about dealing with black folks in terms of intimate relationships,
Like even from a sex part and a emotional part.
I think more so, not even that part. I think it's more of them and how they relate with their family and their support system and thing like that. Introducing someone, specifically if you're asking about me, I'm of a certain age, I am white, I am opinionated. I'm not going to try to pass. I'm going to be comfortable being me. So if you don't like the way that I look, if you don't like the way that I'm going to dress, or these kinds of things, that's your issue. That is not mine, and you need to deal with it. I'm no longer going to put up with that. I'm grown. Younger, maybe I would have, but you want to know what? Then it would become internal, and I would need to
But when
deal
you were
with
younger,
it.
what was that like?
Oh, it was awful.
So they were
It
trying
was
to make you
awful.
be what?
Oh
More
my God.
hip hop or more what?
My first relationship, I realized later that they just wanted to control me. 100%.
That's kind of cute.
Same.
But when you find out that they're out there creeping and they're doing everything, and you're young, you're naive, you know, I didn't understand when I was in that first relationship. I have someone that's already been out in the clubs.
Right.
See, I may have had a fake ID, and I did things, but it was here and there.
Right.
I wasn't going to the clubs on Thursday night and Friday night and Saturday and all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? And him being, you know what I'm saying? Oh, that.
Yeah.
And him, and him, you know, you're young and you believe, oh, you're out at this and you're out at that. Like, shit, I'm going to school trying to get my, you know, hair degree. I want to go on and be something. You're 16. You're like,
Right.
At least that's what my experience was.
Do you think black guys come with more trauma and drama?
I think they have
You can definitely speak candidly.
Yeah.
My hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with a partner has been being stopped by the police.
Oh.
And it went sideways with a black police officer and a white police officer.
Oh my goodness.
It's gonna go sideways with each and every last
It
one of
is
them.
just beyond. The first time was when I moved out to California, and it was like 89 or 90, driving in Glendale. And I got pulled over by a white police officer to ask if I was okay. I had a black passenger male in my car and literally pulled me over to ask if I was okay.
What?
I was it was all kinds of astounding.
Wow.
The last one actually was in my last relationship, and we were on 3rd and Wilton by the church right there's a church right there.
Yeah, I know they are.
Pulled over by a black officer, and my partner at the time, we were two and a half years into it. He said, there was no reason for them to stop you. Take your keys out, put it on the dashboard, and put your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And it was like Sunday morning. I was not speeding. Nothing wrong with my car.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no reason to stop me. And he told me to do all these things. I did. Put the window down, and literally this police officer's response, it irritated him that that's what I'd done. That alone escalated the situation. Why did you do that?
my God.
And if you
What
would
do
have
you
done
think?
it would have
And it just became this whole thing of then me knowing my rights. No, sir. Is there a reason why you stopped me? No, sir. Why do you need to have access to my vehicle? No, sir. Do you have a warrant? No, sir. Please, can you tell me why you stopped me? And this just kept going and going and going. Another car comes up. Next thing you know, they
call backup?
Oh my goodness. Everything. They pulled everything onto the sidewalk. Everything. Found nothing. And so I cannot speak of what it's like because I have learned what my white privilege is. I understand it. Now, there are certain aspects of it when I go in places because of my sexuality or my appearance or whatever that it may be diminished. But I am aware of it. I have not always been aware of it. But being in a circumstance where you cannot take your color off. You cannot take your skin off. That doesn't mean that someone knows what you do for your job. It doesn't mean they know what your degree is. They don't know any of these things. They don't care. And I'm not saying that all police officers or all law enforcement are that way, but it did introduce me to somewhat understanding of what it must be like on a daily basis. And that's difficult. I think that's very, very difficult. And in that aspect, when I think of who it pains me the most, has got to be a mother.
Yep. Because how does a mother have a conversation with her child? And even when I think about like bringing kids into the world, I'm not comfortable bringing a kid into a world that I don't feel comfortable in. And
Say that.
with all of my accolades and my achievements, you want to go through life and you want to assume that, like, oh, you know what? I've taken step A, step B, step C to avoid all of these different things, and something like that could never happen to me until it does. Because it's one thing to see it on the news. It's one thing to see it and you think like, we all have that little voice in our head like, well, maybe if you would have surrounded yourself with different people, maybe if you would have grew up differently, maybe if you would have done this, maybe if you would have done that, until it happens to you and you realize, I actually didn't do anything.
Right.
I'm not guilty of anything. And I've taken all of the proper steps to ensure that something like this does not happen to me, but yet it still does.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say when Tavarus told me that you were coming on the show, I had a lot of questions about that. Like, are you an alliance to the black community? But that has already been answered. And like, how do you deal with the cultural differences and our current social injustice in America?
Have you ever been in a situation where you were either amongst friends or coworkers who were white, and because you're one of them, they thought that they can say something derogatory about black people?
So many times.
And you have you checked them?
Talk about my family. Oh, come on now. I mean, I can't.
That actually makes sense.
Bad when you
come on.
brought a black man home?
Well, when you brought a man home, obviously.
And the first time that it happened, as I said, I'm born and raised on a farm. Coming back from Chicago, too tired to kind of keep driving to go into the main city, South Bend. So we stayed.
Oh, South Bend.
Yeah, South Bend, Indiana. That's my hometown.
No, I know.
Notre Dame.
I work with people from South Bend.
And had to stay over. Now, you wake up in the morning. My mom was cool with it. Like, and it's interesting. My mom was woke way before. She was a period of time where she wasn't married, right? Divorced woman in the 60s with 6 kids.
Oh, yeah.
She became a bus driver, and the thing that I respect most about her is I think that is what got instilled in me was I remember her getting together with all the ladies from work, and it was a Latina, a black, and all the kids.
Yeah.
Mostly all single moms with kids, and those were the happiest times, and I was exposed. And I didn't really understand a difference. Now bring my father into it, and all the words that he would use, and my inquiries, and my mom being like trying to get my dad not to say those things, right? Like, was a constant struggle. Add the alcohol into him, and it was definitely worse. We were at the table. My mom had made us, was it waffles or pancakes or something like this, and having a good time, interacting. My dad literally walked in, looked at the table, turned around, walked back out, spoke nothing. And to me, I looked at that as a positive.
Right.
I had to look at that as a positive.
Yeah.
Okay. He did not start something. He did not say anything. And God bless, it was in the morning, so I didn't imagine he'd already been drinking. So that was my, more of that type of interaction.
What about as an adult in California or something? Like,
you know what?
You have to check some white people and be like, don't call him that.
So it's really weird, the little microaggressions. Do you know what I mean? And
especially out here.
And I'm not gonna. The minute that you are silent, you are participatory in it, and that is my mentality. The minute you are silent, you are participatory. And the one thing that I get so upset about is having friends back home that are so accepting of me, but you have to have your one token something, okay? Like my one token gay.
Or your one token white friend. Hey, Tavarus.
And my response is, do you think about your one gay friend when you go in and vote? Do you think about that one gay friend?
This is what I mean to go back to. Sometimes we vote our individual preference not knowing that we're a part of a bigger community.
Exactly.
And we don't have to vote for us. We have to vote for everybody.
I agree.
Like, I don't need food stamps and all the other social shit. but I do vote for those people who need it.
You vote
Thank
for
God,
me.
because I'm gonna say this.
No.
You don't need it now.
I don't,
And I'm not.
You're right.
I'm not trying to put any negative energy on you.
I receive
but you
that.
never, the way
You never
that
know.
our country is set up now for
I vote for my brother.
healthcare and things like this.
I vote, not when I say my brother, I mean my brother, my sister, my uncle, my like that. Even if it could never be me, I'm voting for someone who I know who may or may not look like me, but we're a part of a larger race called the
Exactly.
human race.
I agree.
I'm not voting a black vote, a white vote. I'm voting for who I think could better us as a whole.
I absolutely agree.
Ugh.
Well, on that note, but that kind of concludes this episode. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
Did
me.
you have any more questions for us, or did you
Yeah,
want to say
You can
anything?
ask us questions.
Closing remarks?
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I was a little nervous, but this was actually
Yeah,
much
this was
better
actually a
than I.
lovely conversation. I thoroughly
Because
enjoyed
it's
your input and your
conversational.
insight.
Yes.
It's conversational. We don't force anything.
Well, thank you guys for tuning into season 2. Make sure you subscribe to the Rated MA YouTube channel, also on iTunes, and that is a wrap. Good night.
Good night.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.